I'll call this meeting to order. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome. Any additions to the agenda?
No, I think we can take that other
Okay.
piece up during the
Okay.
cemetery budget.
I have nothing then.
All right. My remarks, we have lost an asset to our town, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the Shippey family for the loss of Sonia, who gave much to this town, this county, and to her family. And also to the victims of the railroad crossing accident, to the family of the gentleman who died, and I don't know how Shenandoah is doing, but keep them in your thoughts too. Now this is open for public comment for items not on the agenda. Anybody have any? Okay, town administrators report.
Okay. Last week I had a virtual meeting with the state on reporting for the emergency management generator grant. The installation of the LP gas tanks is scheduled for December 1st. So the state was given the leeway by FEMA to give an extension to the end of the year through December, and so they gave us an extension on that. So I was kind of surprised to see that the installation was that far out, but I guess it's all in getting the parts and getting everything delivered. I received an email this morning from the Conservation Commission noting a press release was published on Monday noting the first confirmation of beech leaf disease in Vermont, and it was seen in Vernon, and it's affecting native as well as ornamental beech trees. There have been currently 14 states that have been reporting this, as well as Ontario, Canada. The most recently this year have been reports in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maine, and Maryland. If anyone would like more information on identifying or reporting the beech leaf disease, please visit vtinvasives.org. The trash and recycle collection request for proposals has been finalized and will be going out in tomorrow's mail. So
That's a good piece of work, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Minute approval will have to be tabled because we can't get three,
Right,
right?
okay,
Okay,
deferred.
warrant,
Madam Chair,
sir.
I move that we pay the following warrants. 8T, accounts payable, $65,295.79. 40S payroll, $13,078.49. And 41S payroll, $11,330.12.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Brendan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
I'm an aye, the motion carries. BDCC, SeVEDS, update and request.
There is someone from BDCC here, but I'm not sure they're at the computer right now.
Okay.
We're just quick.
Yeah, they
Can we just
Thank
do
you,
the
Ryan.
vote on the master plan while we're waiting?
The outdoor recreation master plan adoption. What is your pleasure?
I move that we accept and adopt the outdoor recreation plan as presented, and thank the town administrator, the recreation department, and all the other town departments and volunteers who helped to put this together.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Brandon?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
I'm an aye, the motion carries. Are they at the computer yet?
Is anyone from?
Yes, can
Okay.
you hear me now? I'm sorry, I
Yes.
can't get my camera to work for some reason, but if you can,
Oh,
here it
you
is.
are.
Great. It's working. Okay, thank you so much. And I have my colleague, Chris Ponte here as well, because she actually does a lot for Vernon. So I'll turn it over to her. We just like to pop on and just remind everybody, exactly what we do and how BDCC and SeVEDS are related, and sort of why we make an annual funding request each year to towns, including Vernon. So I'll just do that really quickly, and then we can talk specifically about how we've been working with Vernon over the last year. And then if you have questions for us, we're happy to take those, and we can send a response back so we don't take too much meeting time. So as you know, BDCC is a regional development corporation. We're one of 12 in the state of Vermont. We have an annual contract with the Agency of Commerce and Community Development to handle all things related to economic development in the Windham region, which is 27 towns. We get a couple Bennington County towns and one in Windsor County as well. So SeVEDS, which is who sends a funding request each year, is an affiliated organization. It has its own separate budget and a separate board, but it doesn't have any staff. So SeVEDS contracts with BDCC's staff to carry out its priorities that it determines across the region. So it's sort of leading with the strategy, and then BDCC comes in to help implement the programs that SeVEDS sees the need for. So municipal funding from towns across our region for SeVEDS, which is what we're here talking about today, helps BDCC design programs and move forward with intention in all our work. SeVEDS kind of does a lot of the thought work and the planning. This funding from SeVEDS is flexible funding for us. So that means it can be used in many ways according to what we need. So it could be matching funds for a grant that we receive to run another program. It can be used as seed funding for programs that need to be running for a while before we can go find grant funding. And oftentimes it helps us continue programs where one funding source may have run out and we're looking for another one. So it helps us to have continuity in our programming. So this flexible funding that we receive from towns is super helpful for us. Last year, we received funding from 21 towns across the region, which represents 86% of our region's population, which we think is terrific. It means we have broad-based support to carry out regional programs. So specifically, we have, of course, we turn according to need. This year, we did work on flood recovery with some affected towns. We do a comprehensive economic development strategy, which will begin to update in the next year, through which we collect and maintain programs every year. We do business technical assistance and lending, which is available to any small business. And they can fill out an intake form on our website, and we figure out the best way to help them. And then another program that will affect Vernon residents is the Pipelines and Pathways program, which is working in all our region's high schools. And hopefully we'll see some Vernon students on Thursday at the Reality Fair that's taking place at Leland and Gray, which is a really great opportunity for students to connect to careers and ideas that they are excited about. We also have the Welcoming Communities program, which works to create a thriving and welcoming region. We help employers welcome an increasingly diverse workforce, as well as we have worked with relocation and placement of refugees who have really helped build our local workforce. And then finally, we do some community programs, which is what my program does. I run trainings and seminars for towns. We're actually doing Southern Vermont Get On Board right now, which is helping to help people learn how to be better volunteers. We'll take what we learn through our cohort and send it back. So you'll be hearing from us what we learn of helping towns recruit new volunteers for boards. And then we also run the Southern Vermont Economy Summit every year, which brings together all of BDCC's work. So we love to see people there. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Chris Plante, because she actually does a lot of work with Vernon. She can talk about how we do grant administration for the Governor Hunt House quickly. Go ahead, Chris. There you go. You got it.
Hello. So I work with Bobby, and we work with the Friends of Vernon Center in support of their effort to rehab the Governor Hunt House. And that is partially funded with a grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. So they're, doing a lot to upgrade the space, and we are helping with the progress reports and getting reimbursement for what has been completed so far.
And I would jump in and say that that's a lot of the things where our work is really helpful, that communities just don't have the capacity to manage the grant, that you need to get the funding to do the projects you do. So we're there as communities need us. We can do that administrative work, which I find in my work is the thing that people really need. So that's kind of the direct touch that I think Vernon feels the most from us, but we do have a lot of services available. And if you have any questions about our work or ways that you'd like us to engage with the community, we can certainly, if we can't answer them from our program, we can certainly take them back to a colleague and get you an email tomorrow. Do you have any questions about it?
Brandon?
Is there any duplicity with grant administration between the BDCC and the Wyndham Regional Commission? Wyndham Regional Commission also administers a lot of grants as well. Is there duplicity in that?
So not so much. They really help with things like planning grants, so municipal planning grants. They would help with, or I know there's been a lot of towns doing bylaw modernization grants. So if it's something that Wyndham Regional Commission covers and you bring it to us, we'll usually just refer you back to them. So we try not, we kind of stay in our lanes. So we often help with things like the federal grants, which have more complicated grant reporting and things like that. So like this grant with the Friends of Vernon Center that Bobby and Chris help with the administration of. So, but if it was something like a regional planning grant or something like that, we would refer you on to the right person to help you with that. And we often make referrals. My program, people will call with a project and we'll sort of help them sort out a priority list of who should we call for what and refer them on. So we kind of do that first ground level technical assistance. And we don't always write grants for or handle grant administration for everyone, but in certain cases we do if that's the best way that we can help. And I do a lot of referring people and saying, here's a list of people that can help you and make that direct connection for them so they know who to call.
Thank you.
Audience, do you, any of you have, Verona?
I don't know those two women, but I represent Vernon and have represented Vernon ever since it's been a part of the Wyndham County Economic Development Program Council. And one answer is Chris Campany, who is the executive director of the Regional Council, Wyndham Regional Commission, is also on that council. But WikiDip, which is what the council is called, it's just easier to remember, was funded originally by the Entergy, the arrangement between the state and the town and the company. It's now a revolving loan fund, and our choices, our decisions are made based on SeVEDS. And I'm honored to represent the town on that council and have been doing it, I think, since 2016. So I am in support of that also, of the town giving money, which I believe it did last year. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, the question is on funding. Are you just gonna, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, in general, we have placed that. And so I know in previous years, there was a question about petitioning and your town administrator has said that you made a decision that not to require entities to petition, but that we would need to send over a report detailing how we have helped Vernon. So I'm actually working on that now with some direct numbers, and we'll be happy to send that over, shortly, anytime. If it's too early to send it, we can wait till December, but we do have that available. So for us, it would be terrific if that would be included in the warning for voters at town meeting, and let the voters vote on it. And Chris, actually, who is now a Vernon resident, would probably be present at town meeting to speak to that if there were questions as well. So, it's worked in the past, and we're very happy if that's possible to place it in the warning and let voters decide on the funding at town meeting. And sometimes it gets amended from the floor, and that's fine with us too. It's nice to put it in front of the voters at town meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, BCTV contract.
So we have the fiscal year 24-25 contract.
That's right.
Do you want to speak to that?
I'm happy to speak to it if that's all right.
Yes,
Hi,
please do.
everybody. My name's Court Trowbridge. I'm the executive director of BCTV. I'm actually gonna be retiring after 18 years in December. But anyway, a long history here with Vernon. When I first came, we were still covering this meeting from a camera attached to that tripod on the wall
Wow.
that was turned on by your staff, and we went live over cable. Tim will remember this well, as a former BCTV staff member from the 90s. In 2011, we began covering your meetings regularly. And then in 2019, I came to you and explained that our federal funding mechanism, which is, has local cable subscriber fees, a very small percentages, comes to support public access in Vernon, is in decline because of cord cutting. So as people leave cable to watch streaming, those revenues don't come to BCTV. So we came in 2019 asking for the town's support for the first time. And that was approved. And we had a contract amount that lasted for 3 years. 3 years later, we had a slightly higher contracted amount. It's 3 years later now. So here we are with another slightly higher contracted request. And we're asking for the same increase from all of our towns. And that is to a reflection of the increasing cost of staffing and equipment, just general inflation. It doesn't cover the entire cost of our service, which is subsidized by those cable revenues, but it helps us to close the gap that's created by cord cutting. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. And shout out to Brian on camera.
Any questions?
Even though he thinks his father's a tightwad.
Like putting
No, I have no questions, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you. Entertain a motion?
I can't.
Okay, right. We can't take action.
We can't
on this.
vote tonight because I'd be in conflict,
Okay.
so
Got a table vote on that. Okay, carryover policy. Do we have that?
I don't have an actual written policy. I tried to see if we
Okay.
had anything in writing, and I
well,
was asked to just put it on the agenda for discussion.
I can tell you how it's worked in the past, as long as I've been here. If a department wants to carry over money, they have to have a specific reason why. And they have to put it in writing. They're supposed to submit it to my office, and then I'm supposed to bring it to the board to get it put on the agenda. And the only department that does not have to do that at this point is the highway department. Because statutorily, they're allowed to carry over any monies they don't spend. But people have to do it by June 30th. They can't go into the next fiscal year.
right.
And it has to be in writing, and they have to have a reason. They can't just say, because we want to.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some issues, Madam Chair, you know, with supply chain stuff going on and lack of labor for contractors that we wanted to get that have required some flexibility and that type of thing. Things they're not perfect yet, they're getting a little better. I'm gonna say it, I've said it 100 times, when the townspeople vote a budget in town meeting, they voted for the ensuing fiscal year, and they give a number to be used. If a department comes in under budget, which is always good. Sometimes line items are blown but that money is due back to the general fund. It's not due to be carried over. This is just one person's opinion. You get an appropriation for your budget for a year that you haven't been able to spend it, or you didn't plan well enough,
And that's-
timing wise, and sometimes if you get into May, because you wanted to save the money in case you didn't need to spend, something came up. I'm just real leery of carryover funds when the townspeople vote an annual budget.
Yeah, we've always agreed with that. Normally in the past, it was something big like around the roof. There was damage to the north school roof that came up that was unanticipated during a storm, and they were allowed to carry over money specifically for that reason.
If you,
But like I said, somebody can't go, well, I have $50,000 left in my budget and I wanna be able to carry it over. No. It
I
has to
think
be a need, not a want.
there needs to be a contract in place which would allow that money to be encumbered,
Right,
to carry over. But it needs to be in place before
right.
the request.
That's the way it's supposed
Yeah.
to be done.
I don't like it. I just don't think it's being honest
No, I agree. I don't
with the
like.
townspeople.
We've had people we've said no to because they didn't really have a legitimate reason, or they didn't have anything lined up.
Yeah.
They were like, well, we might.
And I know we had to do that for the historians. They, with the cow, with the paintings and the murals and the roof, and they've had some issues. I get that, but as much as people don't like to have special town meetings, if an emergency comes up, that's what special town meetings are for. They're a pain in the neck, and they cost money to put together. But special town meetings are for things that come up that are unexpected during the year, or you have to vote because you accept a grant and it requires a town meeting vote. I've been rambling. I would make a motion, but we don't have a full board, so I'll wait. I will
Okay.
make the motion at the next meeting to
Okay.
stop carryovers where it's not allowed by law.
Private railroad crossings. Go ahead.
Okay, so since the accident at the private railroad crossing, I've been in contact with our senator, Wendy. I've also been in contact with Sarah Coffey, looking for funding, and because this is private and not a public crossing, there is no funding to make an improvement and put up a signal. However, if the town was to decide to petition the state to then make it a public crossing, the town then would be required to maintain the crossing, maintain those roads, among other things, and there is some concern whether or not those roads would be up to grade, whether or not we'd have to make additional improvements, which may include providing another means of egress, which would require purchasing additional land and constructing additional roads. So, that is what we have right now. I do know that the railroad will be down to inspect those crossings and, take care of the vegetation.
Are they cutting it or spraying it?
I don't know yet. I don't know if they're cutting or spraying. I know that they said that they would be down to take a serious look at that. The only problem with that is that part of, that vegetation is on private land as well. So that is, something to take into consideration. That may be an option to make it a little bit safer. But as the town, unless we were to petition the state, our hands are tied as far as funding to construct a signal or crossing there.
I just have a question.
Sure.
I never go over either of those crossings, but is there any brooks or waterways on that other side at all?
No.
No.
All right, I'd ask the railroad to selectively cut as opposed to spray, but that's up to them.
What is the possibility of putting in mirrors?
That would be up to
The landowner?
the landowners. Yes, they're required to maintain the road, so that would fall to them to take care of that, if they chose to do so. I don't know what that would entail. As far as everybody being in agreement, funding it.
No, I know both those, we have fields on the other side of both those crossings being with sand rim fair. They're brutal, and it's a reoccurring issue.
It's been twice since I've been in town.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mirrors and the cutting the vegetation are a minimum, you know, I just, the angle of the road, it's just brutal.
It is. It's very concerning. So
Keep looking.
at this point, that's all I have for information.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you mind if we do the budgets before the executive session?
That's fine.
Okay, we're gonna move on to budgets. Town clerk. Come on down.
Good evening. Very few changes in the budget for the next year. I will mention that in FY '25, which begins in July of 2024, there are 3 elections. A August primary, the November general election, and town meeting in the month of March. I don't see any major changes other than that. I will say that even though this is a one-election fiscal year, a lot of the totals will be eaten up in making sure that we can handle both the presidential primary, our local election, and town meeting, but we will stay within budget. Only other thing that is different is starting back in July, the cost of marriage licenses went up. They're now $80. The town gets $15. $65 of that total goes to domestic violence programs. So, you know, we're getting the revenue in. If we give back more to the state, that's pretty much a wash. Anybody have any questions for me?
There doesn't seem to be in the salary lines,
You have two different sheets for those. One is based on what we are making now, and one is based
on
on
a 3%.
the 3% that Shelley asked you to come up with.
Was that in the wage and class? Is that what, or
That was the COLA for
That
this
was
year.
that was the recommended COLA out of the report?
3.2. Well, for this year.
Yeah, I don't know, 3.2 is what Social Security's getting, so that,
Well, I did 3 because that's what I was at.
Right.
yeah.
And the insurances, those are based on the new figures that I received.
Yeah, what is it going up? Did they give you is it like a 7% kick this year? Or?
They gave me the new figures for the first 6 months, and then for the second 6 months, figured at 10%, just to be on the safe
Yeah.
side, for the health insurance.
Yeah,
Dental insurance for the last few years has not gone up, so that only went up a little bit.
and refresh me, we pay the dental, the municipality pays
You
80%
pay-
or 75 or
No,
50%?
you pay for the employee pays for their spouse and
For the
dependent.
spouse and family, okay. Okay, thank you.
Brenda, do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you as always.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Yep. All right, next is Fire Department. I hear good things about you.
I hope so. I tried to keep it as level as I could. A couple of the bigger changes, under the line officer stipend, I did up those, a fair amount just because the officers they're holding the department together. They're doing a lot of work, and, I feel like it was due to increase that item.
Oh, okay, I got it, all right.
And I guess there's one change there that I think I have on yours. I think it's put in at 5,000. And on my math for my breakdown, it should be at 55.
For the line officer?
Yep.
So it should be 55?
Yep.
So that should then be 132, 328 at the bottom, okay. Thank you.
And then, and it changes a little bit because of the FICA, but, and then,
Right,
let's see, the dues and subscriptions, that's up because of our new reporting software and the EMS and the fire reporting software, which has been implemented, but that's a reoccurring cost, so that money's just been directed properly there. And then fire pond maintenance, I don't know what to do with it. We've put that out for we've put it out for proposals to do. We were hoping to get the pond on Huckle Hill as well as the one at the end of Newton Road cleaned up, or at least get some figures in to know where we'd be at with it. And we didn't receive any responses, and I know Shelley worked hard to get it out to a bunch of different contractors. So I don't know, we're in desperate need of maintenance, but I don't know if that should be if it should be an article in the budget, or how we should tackle that. I'm open to suggestions, and maybe Shelley's got some ideas, but I don't know what. So I kind of carried
like a placeholder for it.
a placeholder, but as well as just signage and just general upgrades, but not like a major overhaul type of a.
Question. Do you think that contractors aren't bidding at I know they're busy, they're all busy, but
Yeah.
does it need some sort of an engineering report on what to do? Or is it just dredging,
I
basically?
think it's dredging, basically. I don't know if it's more of just, it's difficult to do the work because it's in a water source, or, I mean, I know our rivers and streams guy is he's pretty decent to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's a logistical, I'm not sure what it is. I do know that the company I work for, they had received the RFP, but we just had so much on our plate that we didn't. And I'm sure that's a similar case, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, thank you. So you're basically level funded.
What's the hope?
Pretty much from the prior year, you're pretty much level funded. Okay,
Thank you. Frank, have any questions?
No.
Right, thank you, Alex.
Thanks,
All right,
Chief.
No problem, thank you.
Well, you guys, thank you too. Okay, cemetery. Mary Lynn, you're on.
Supplies, we wanted to raise to 700, I'll start with the easy. Needed to raise the supplies up to $750, they get more expensive, and we haven't lined for a couple years, so we're gonna need to be doing that. And there's some other odds and ends that need to be taken care of. Vernon and I walked up around North last Sunday, And there's some maintenance work that needs to be done up there. We found some bushes that are overgrown again with hidden stones underneath them. So I'm out looking for a quote to get some of that stuff cut down. It may not be done until spring. I don't know whether it'd be done now or in the spring, but I'm looking for a quote for that.
Okay, but that won't come out of this budget, right?
No,
It'll come out of your existing budget.
Yeah. Hopefully, may come out of this, so depends on what's available.
Yeah,
Memorial Day supplies will stay the same. Our next one is caretaking. So because we changed caretakers and we're crossing over 2 fiscal years, became a dilemma in how to do that. So to get the same amount, we have to increase that. So if the caretaker changes, they will get the amount that they have bid. So we looked at the amount that was bid this year and broke that down into 1 April to 30 June, which was 3 months, that came to $11,571, I think it's 44. And the 5 months, 1 July to 1 November, was $16,352.56. So based on the 27,924 bid, we would have to double the April to June amount. So if the caretaker changed, that person would receive their amount, and we wouldn't run into what we did this year by changing caretakers. And then, once we did that once, then it
Right.
would sustain after that.
right, once you get by that
Yep.
first 6-month piece, then it's
Yeah.
just annualized.
Unfortunately, the caretaking contract is not,
It goes one
between 2
April to
fiscal
30,
years, so-
it goes 1 April to 1 November.
in one fiscal year, we voted this amount for caretaking, and the next fiscal year, we voted this amount. But the contract is in the middle.
So why don't you just go July to June with them too, and then for the next year have it all tied in.
Our caregiver was very adamant that he had a contract and he was going to make sure we paid what he.
I understand that, but if you did a 3-month contract and then a 12-month contract,
Right, I mean, that's up to them.
that way you get cycled into the
Right,
fiscal year and you won't, but you're gonna only have it this one time anyways, it's gonna
Right.
roll back in next
Yeah.
year.
right.
Yeah.
But it will raise what we asked for this year,
Right, by 10 grand.
11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
11,571.44, right, but.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So then we have, the Tyler fence. That we have some discussion on. If we could, it's a contractual, so if we could have a quick
executive
closed
session
session.
for contractual.
Hmm?
Executive session for contractual.
Over this 71, is that what this is about?
It does qualify because it's contractual.
No decisions, just discussion.
Can we do that after my budget?
Yeah, but I don't think that should be an executive session.
So in case anybody else wants to give it on something, we should.
Okay, we'll wait.
can stay for it.
Smart woman.
So we'll pause Mary Lynn's
I'm
and take
supposed to be in
Cindy.
bed right now.
Me too, I'm old.
Well.
Okay, Cindy, we're gonna take you now.
Thank you. Well, my budget, there's not a whole lot I can do with it.
Disapprove, resubmit in 90 days or further disapprove.
Because I only could cut my traveling conference so much. And that's the only thing I have I can cut. as with Tim's, budget, you have two different ones. But the only place I can cut is that $50, I can take that off.
Don't you have to pay for your bond every year? No? Out of your budget? You're not bonded?
Wait, I am, it comes out of
It's not a separate line, it just comes out, okay.
another
Yeah.
part of the budget.
All right.
I did increase my income because my income increased. Which was a very good reason,
Do I see that?
I thought.
Say that 3 times fast.
Well, at the end of last fiscal year, I had 866, and I had thought I was going to have like 750. And also, so far this fiscal year, I'm almost up to 1,000 already, so I figured I would estimate 1,000.
What am I missing? I'm not seeing that.
Estimated income.
All right.
The only thing I charge for is I charge for copies of tax bills to escrow companies and when they do title searches. Nobody asks for copies because no one wants to pay for copies or
Right.
anything. So that's where the only place I can,
Do you email them now?
the tax bills.
Yeah.
Either I email them or they send me, the escrow company send me a FedEx and
Right.
we have to, to prepare it and get it out to them.
I'm not gonna ask that question. You're welcome.
Any questions, Cindy?
No, I'm good.
Thank you, Cindy. For all your work.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see it.
Could you turn it over?
Madam Chair, I move we enter into executive session with the
Thank you.
cemetery commissioners as,
Administrator.
and the town administrator as it relates to contracts.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
I'm an aye. We are in executive session at, where's my phone? 7:12. Okay, we went to executive session at 7:12, came out at 7:29. No action was taken. Okay, we now need to go into executive session on the town administrative compensation.
Madam Chair, I move that we go into executive session as regards to the appointment, employment, or evaluation of a public officer or an employee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, I need to get my numbers out. Okay.
All those in favor, Brandon?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
I'm an aye, we are in executive session.
I'm leaving this one, right?
Seven,
Am I leaving
No,
this
you should
No.
stay.
Oh,
I would
okay.
like you to stay if you don't mind.
Okay.
Could I amend the motion then to invite the town administrator?
Okay, we are in at 7:30. Okay, we went to executive session at 7:30, came out at 7:45, and no action was taken.
Madam Chair,
See, yes, sir?
I would like to make a motion. It's gonna be a fairly convoluted motion, so I apologize for that in advance.
Okay.
Okay, I move that we take the first step in bringing the town administrator's salary into line with current practices in the area for towns of, in the area, and subsequently move the town administrator's salary from its current wage to $86,000 a year as the first step toward getting the town administrator whole. And additionally, I would ask that we request that town council construct a new contract for the town administrator, noting the increase, and then whatever the board decides to do for July as well, we'll do that during budget. For an additional 3, do we do 3 years, 5 years? How long do you wanna be here, 3?
We did 3, but.
Okay, we'll do it,
Five?
you want a 5?
We can do 5.
If it's allowed by statute, okay, because I don't know if there's anything in statute that prohibits that, for up to 5 years.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? I would like to note that she has brought in significant grants for this town, for which we're very thankful. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Brandon?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
I'm an aye, the motion carries. Thank you very much for all your hard work. Our next meeting is November 7th. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Is there, all those in favor?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
I'm an aye. We are out of here at 7:49. Thank you very much.